Alright my friends, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of our Tropical Wing Zoo build. I just want to start by apologising basically for there being no Planet Zoo content for about a month now on the channel. For those that are members of the Discord and those that stay up to date with the community page on the channel, you would have seen that there's just been lots and lots of stuff going on in my personal life and I just haven't had the time basically. The channel's kind of been dominated by Football Manager content, but the big reason for that is I have that series recorded up until its end, and so it's very easy for me to put those videos out. With Planet Zoo it's a bit different, it takes me a lot longer. I do need days, weeks at a time to sit down and do projects and stuff. And so yeah, just really first and foremost just a massive apology for there being a real lack of content, a real lack of diverse content. I think is probably the best thing I should be saying on the channel. It has felt very samey, but I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks we're really going to start to get back to normal, my friends. If you've missed last episode, which you probably haven't because it was a month or so ago now, it was the big primate habitat build. I'll link it above you right now, my friends, so you can go and check that out. Now today's episode I'm not going to be showing off any new builds. This is going to be a planning episode. Obviously with the bit of time I've had away from Planet Zoo, I have started to think about where I'm going to take the project next. We'd come to a bit of a standstill after completing the primate habitat, and now I want to talk you through the two stages basically that I've already planned, and at the end of today's episode I'm going to give you guys the option on what side I should start. So I guess without further ado, let's jump on in and start planning Tropical Wing Zoo again. Right my friends, so here we are in Tropical Wings. Basically this is what we've built to this point. You know, I'm having a lot of fun building this zoo. Very different to anything else that I would say we've put out on the channel. Obviously my very first zoo, I was really new to the game, and my builds I think have come on leaps and bounds since then. And then obviously we've been doing Jammy Conservation Park as well, which again is another project that's come to a bit of a standstill, but I am going to be putting a video out about Jammy Conservation Park next week, so do keep your eyes peeled. It's probably going to be very similar to this, but you know, I've got plans basically to bring that zoo back and get that zoo finished. So my friends, let's talk about today's episode and let's talk about the two areas that I've started planning. I've got my list of animals. I know what animals I'm going to go with in each area. I sort of know where they're going to go, but I want to talk you through my thinking. Now I'm not going to be showing off any proper plans like I have done in the past. I'm just going to talk you through it. There might be the odd image that will pop up on screen that will just be for like reference, so that you can kind of get an idea of what I'm explaining and what I'm talking about. But yeah, we're really going to loosely wing this. It is just going to be a case of you know, taking in all the details that I'm telling you basically, and then you can make the decision at the end of today's episode where you think the direction you think we should go in next. Now as you can see, this is obviously backlot area. This is our entrance. Got our flamingos here. This is the big primate habitat now that houses our gorillas, mandrill and our chimpanzee. I come under fire a little bit for the primate habitat, and obviously this is the first time I've come on here since I put that episode out, and a few people didn't like my interpretation of the jungle room. They didn't like the way that the mandrill can walk across the top, the gorilla's on the bottom, and with the mandrill being a pretty aggressive species, they would be able to climb down to the gorillas. Now I totally take those points on board. I really do. There's no way I can really change it now without deleting that room out, and then it's just a lot of work unfortunately for me to try and get around. Now I want to try to explain myself. Now the concept that I found that I really liked that kind of spawned that idea, the monkeys that were used were not mandrill. They were obviously a lot more of a docile species basically. I've only used the mandrill because they're an African species and they were like the best thing that really we had at our disposal that kind of fit the idea, and that's the reason I've gone with it. I do accept people's points. I totally get it that the mandrill are an aggressive species, and people saying, oh, can they get down, can't they get down? It was supposed to be bridged. There was supposed to be a band of water at the top, but obviously that changed when I started putting rocks in and whatnot. There is still some loose pools, there's the waterfall and whatever, but I guess just for argument's sake, we're going to have to just say that the Mandrill can't get that. They physically can't in the game. I guess we'll just have to use some excuses for ourselves where that's concerned. And another thing as well, another little issue I want to bring up to you before we start getting planning. This area here, for whatever reason, you will remember that I had to take the fence out because it glitches every time I try to do work there. I cannot do any more work, and it's very, very annoying because that's a backstage area there and I can't put a gate in, and it's really annoying me, but there's nothing I can do. Every time I try to place a new piece along here, it throws the game out. I have no idea why it's doing it. The only thing I can think of is that I might have to delete all this out and start again. That I really don't want to do, but yeah, for whatever reason it won't let me work there, so I'm just gonna have to use our imaginations again where that's concerned as well. But anyway, let's get into the planning. They're the two little things I wanted to bring up. Your points have been taken on board and very much appreciate you know that some people don't like that jungle room, but I was never going to please everybody. I will also say as well that I have now decided not to do a restaurant here. We're just going to do a gift shop. I've got the loose bones in place. Basically, this is now the door to come out of the building, and this is where the gift shop is going to go, and it's obviously going to be very primate themed. And then I've decided to stick this fence around the edge, kept the water there, stuck the fence around the edge, and the only little thing I need to do now is kind of like just work some fake wall on the back of this just to disguise it a little bit, and just finish off the planting in that corner now. And you will see I've started putting in sort of like little fences and whatnot on the top, just to kind of protect the animals and keep them in and whatnot. And yeah, just started putting in a few little touches. You'll see that I've done it along here as well. I've got all of this in now. It's all kind of finished off, and it looks pretty good in my opinion. So yeah, we're slowly getting there, slowly doing little bits and bobs, and there'll be lots of planting, and all this area will be finished off. But let's talk about the planning. So first part I'm going to talk about is Adventure Africa. That's what I'm going to talk about first. That's one area I've been planning. And then the other area I've been planning is like a water section, but we'll come to that second because it's actually a bit more complicated to explain than Adventure Africa is. Now, I've got all of the species I expect to go in Adventure Africa written on a screen, so I am going to try my best to group them together, how I'm going to group them together in the habitats and whatnot. So when you come through this bridge, this tunnel, when you come through this tunnel, once you're over here, you're into Adventure Africa basically. You'll come out and that'll be it. You'll into this new sort of, this new area. Now, I am going to theme it, but I'm not going to go over the top with the theming. There's going to be loose theming, but I'm not going like crazy over the top. We don't tend to do that in the UK. This is a UK-based zoo, and we don't tend to do that. There are some examples of it, but there's not many from the zoos that I've been to. So there's subtle touches. I'm kind of basing this off of London Zoo to some extent, not like the layout or anything, but I'm basing it off of what London Zoo has done as a city zoo. The amount they've tried to cram in a very small space is very impressive, especially as they've managed to give the animals a lot of space and stuff as well. So that's what I'm trying to do. So we are going to like loosely loosely theme where Africa's concerned, because I think that makes sense, but not over the top. Now I do need to put another tunnel in up this end, and that will obviously be something that we do. But let's start this end here and we'll work our way up, and Adventure Africa is going to finish in here, and I'm going to explain all as we go along. Now, in this first section here, the way I see it is obviously we're going to come out, and I felt like we needed just a nice little gentle sort of starter here. Now, what I'm going to plan to do, if I can plan to do this, is obviously we're going to need some backstage areas, and so I've got a plan how the backstage is going to work out. We need access points and that sort of stuff, and I don't want to be putting tunnels in, but I'm also becoming very aware that we can't have too many access points on the road because it's just going to get a bit clogged up. So I think what I'm going to do is with the backstage here, we'll take the backstage and we'll just carry it around the back, and we might just have a small sort of backstage area back here, but we might just we might have like an area where maybe it joins up here, because this is going to be a new backstage here. Maybe we have our backstage for this side in a similar position, maybe is what I'm thinking. I've got some ideas about it as well. They're going to be quite low down. it's going to be quite complicated. I'm going to be honest with you, Adventure Africa, but I want to do it in a particular way. I still want to stick with that realism, but I want to try some new things, and that's exactly what I'm going to be trying to do. But I'm going completely off a subject. But anyway, in this area here, like I say, I want there to be a loose starter. So if we can imagine like this whole area here, we come round and maybe we'll cut the corner ever so slightly, and we'll come around sort of like this section in here, basically, ladies and gents. I'm going to be putting the fennec fox, the aardvark, and the meerkat. I'm putting them all in here, not all in the same habitat, but I'm putting them all together because I want there to be a building in the middle that you can enter, and you can then see some potential sort of like indoor den type areas, and I'd also like inside there to potentially place some African based like insects and stuff like that. The reason I want to do that is because I'm not sure if I'm going to do an insect house, but I think it might be a good way to do that, because essentially it's the food that these animals eat. Fennec fox and meerkat are known for eating things like scorpions and bugs and insects and stuff. So I think it might be cool because it'll be almost like an educational purpose on the food chain, as well as our guests getting to see examples of this sort of stuff as well. And so I do want there to be sort of like a centralized building where you'll be able to see inside dens, and hopefully we'll be able to put some smaller exhibits inside there. I'm kind of like saying it's going to just take up this bit of space. If it takes up a bit more, it takes up a bit more. It really isn't a problem. And then we're just going to gently carry that pathway round. And essentially the pathway is just going to go like up this way and then through there. The next habitat I have in mind is I want to do a wild dog habitat. Now, obviously we did one in Jamie Conservation Park, and people really, really liked the example of the wild dogs that I managed to achieve in that one. We're going to do something probably slightly different in this one. I'm going to try to do this so that it isn't actually that wide, but it's a very long habitat. And if you can imagine, I'm going to do it very, very similar to how London Zoos is. So at the very first point at the wild dogs, you're high up and you look down and into the habitat, and then the pathway gently goes down a slope, and then you're greeted with this big glass viewing area basically, and you get to see the dogs more of a face-to-face up close perspective. And then you go back you gently go back up again, and it raises you up ready to basically continue on at the level that you need to be. And that's kind of how I'm planning to do it. And then what I'm going to do is when the pathway is higher, underneath that is where I'm going to put their dens. So that's basically what I'm going to do, the behind the scenes stuff for our zookeepers and whatnot to access, which is why I'm thinking about having a zookeeper tunnel under here, that you come down, and they'll be able to access, this stuff that is lower down. Rather than putting all the pathways for the zookeepers up here, I think it makes sense to just have one centralised sort of backstage area, and then they'll be able to access it this way. So it will just be a gentle slope. Their pathways will be gentle slope down there, and then if you can imagine the wild dogs sort of dens and whatnot are going to be underneath basically where all the pathway is. Obviously we are going to think about things, we're going to have to think about things like toilets, we're going to have to think about little seated stops and whatnot, but I can imagine meerkats, aardvark and fennec fox is going to be over here. Then the wild dogs, I would like to start about here and finish about here. I want to do a very long, slender sort of habitat basically. What I am going to be doing as well is this section here is basically the canal wall, and I'm actually going to bank this so that if I take you in so you can see this now, this is how high up we are. But what I'm actually going to do is this ground is going to be banked, and so this wall is going to be a lot lower than it is now, and I'm going to then put like a chain link fence all the way along. So actually the people that are walking along the canal will be able to kind of look in and kind of get a sneak peek of things that are going on in the zoo. We won't have any sort of animals there or whatnot because it'd be dangerous. You don't want people putting their fingers through. But yeah, we'll have like a little section, maybe like a little lip between said wall and that fence, and we'll put some plants and whatnot. But I just thought it might be pretty cool to have that. It'll be high enough that people won't be able to climb it and whatnot, and it'll all be secure and things, but I just thought it'd be like quite a cool way, rather than leaving this ground at the level that it is, if we could like loosely bank it at the back for some of the animal habitats, I think it might work really, really nicely. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of wasted room up here, I'm going to be honest with you. So that's that. We're going to do the wild dog, like I already said. We're going to do like quite a big one. Then we're going to come to like the end, and I'm thinking about doing like a warthog habitat in this area here. Like a warthog wallow, basically. It'll have all of its own backstage. Like I say, there is going to be space taken up, around here, with things like toilet buildings, maybe a small snack stop, that sort of thing. Just a little rest area where people can sit, maps, all this sort of stuff. We're going to need all of this like all thrown in as well. This might look like a bit of room, but when you're about to throw 5 animals in there, like I've already said, then that will disappear very, very quickly. It really, really will. So that's what I'm planning on putting in there, just those 5 animals, because then I think you give the animals enough space, and you've got to think about the animals' numbers expanding in the future. And then what's going to happen is there's going to be a little, a little tunnel again, and we're going to come to this area. Now, Adventure Africa is going to continue, probably, I would say, from about here all the way up to about here, because this is where the main part of it's going to be. This is where the biggest bit's going to be, and this is going to be the open sort of savanna type area, essentially, is what I'm planning on doing now. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this, but I having seen a couple of examples of other zoos, we went to Colchester not long ago, and I think their example's pretty good. It's a very big open space. You've got the elephants one side and some animals the other, and I think this might work quite nicely where our zoo is concerned as well, because obviously space is an issue. We've got to think about this, but we still want to give the animals enough space and enough room. And the reason why I want to do it here as well is because as you can see here, this is the start of a new backlot area, basically. And I think if we can get this area to back onto this, the same way an animal that we're going to put in here is going to sort of back onto it, then we can have a gate, because there's going to be another gate this side, the other side of the path, for another backlot area there. It all feels like it feeds into one another. It doesn't get too complicated, and it will look really nice. It will look really clean, really tidy. And so what I'm planning on doing in this big sort of open area is I'm going to put the ostrich, I'm going to put the giraffe, the zebra, and the gazelle. That's what I'm going to put in there. So it's going to be a really big mixed habitat, and I think it will work really, really nicely. Obviously, there are still animals I haven't mentioned. There's still a couple that would be big ticket animals that I've not mentioned and I've not really placed down here. Now, this area in here, there might be room for one of these animals, and I'm hoping there is, to be honest with you. If I can fit the wild dogs in the way I want, we might be able to get the hyenas in here as well. And that would be great if we could do that. And then it just leaves the lions. Now, with the lions, I want them to kind of be on the very, very end of Adventure Africa, and I want to do something special with the lions. I want to try and do, like a big sort of open sort of Pride Rock type thing. Not heavily theming it too much so it looks like that, but with a big sort of rock structure in the middle is what I would like to do. Multiple viewing areas. So yeah, I think the lions are going to be just on the very end of Adventure Africa, and they might even not be inside it. That is what I'm thinking. We do also have the bongo that are from Africa. I'm very undecided what I'm going to do with them yet. I may even do the bongo sort of this over here, because they're more of a tropical species, a bit like our primates are. I did think I could potentially just do the bongo as like a standalone animal so that it's close enough, but it's still sort of like on its own. We would probably need to do something special with them anyway. They like heavier foliage. They are a shy animal, so we might need to do something a bit clever. So I think that might be a good idea, basically, is to put the bongo in here. So basically, we're going to be using all this space here. We're going to be getting a new backlot area in here that's going to service like these animals in this, part, which is going to be the open savanna area, which I think will look amazing. I've not done anything like that yet. Any project that I've been working on, I usually get to that point, and either the project's unfortunately died a horrible death because there seems to be so many issues with Planet Zoo. When you go for high detail, there seems to be a lot of issues, is what I should say, and that's something that I do. But yeah, hopefully we can get to this point. Not ignoring this area here, what I'm planning on doing, I'm a bit 50-50 about it, but what I am planning on doing here, because the exit to the primate area here, I'm actually thinking of potentially doing a walkthrough lemur habitat. It would be good because we could back their hard shelter onto the back of this area that I keep talking about, but I might actually do a walkthrough exhibit for the lemurs. Here, someone did mention, lemurs are, primates, blah, blah, blah. Why are they not involved in this? I just didn't want to put the lemurs in there, basically, was the big thing. But it did get me thinking about it. And this might actually be prime real estate to put the put the lemurs in. So really, we're talking about really packing this area out over here. And then we're actually still going to be left with a hell of a lot of zoo. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't actually think we were going to have enough room to get the animal species in, but I'm going to talk about animal species and the animal list at the end of today's episode anyway. So that's sort of like the African side of things covered. I'm going to put something out there as well. Now, I don't know if people know this or not, but the law for zoos keeping elephants in the UK is changing. It's been passed, and basically the UK based zoos have been told that they have to stop their breeding programs and they're not allowed to keep elephants anymore. They can keep the elephants that they've got. They can see out the remainder of their life in the zoo, but after that, UK zoos will no longer, by law, be allowed to keep elephants. Now, I obviously go for realism. This is a UK-based zoo. I know it's just a game, but I am very much considering replacing the elephants with the rhinos, just to kind of feed that into the narrative. Obviously, if a lot of people are against it, then you let me know in the comment section below. If you would rather see me do like a big elephant habitat, I'd be more than happy to do it. But I do feel like if it's something that's going on in the real world and it's something we should maybe think about, and it kind of highlights a big issue basically where elephants are concerned, where UK based zoos are concerned as well. But I am thinking about that. I should have mentioned as well, this area here with a big open savanna area, the other side of it is where I plan to do the elephants basically. So there's going to be, I would say probably from this point, all of this is going to be filled in with animals. All this is going to be filled in with animals. It's going to be a massive project. It's going to be multi-episodes to get it done. But essentially, that is my plans where that side of things is concerned. I'm including these in the water side, but they're not going to be really part of the big water project. But in this area here, excuse all this. This is just little things I've built and I like to keep to one side. But in this area here, I've been talking about putting the pygmy hippos, basically. They were going to be a big part of the primate area, but we decided against it. I decided to do something a bit different, and I'm going to stick with that basically. I've got lots of stuff here to finish off. This wall here, it's got to be taken out. All this has got to be tidied up. It was all temporary pieces that I'd completely forgotten about. Same as these bits in the water. That's basically just so I could get the width of the river right and whatnot. But yeah, what I'm basically going to be doing is there's going to be lots of waterfalls that cascade off of the edge of this little river system basically that we've got in place, and they're going to come down into like another area which is going to be more of like an open pool basically that our pygmy hippos are in. And we're basically in this area here, we're going to be placing our pygmy hippos. Their hard shelter is going to be over this side to feed in with this backstage area over here. And then I am potentially thinking about doing, I was going to do a building in the middle so that there could be like a different way of viewing the animals, but I'm not sure I'm going to bother doing that now. I think I'm just going to do like a big open area on the outside with a couple of viewing sections. So not only are you going to get a really fantastic view of the animals, but you're going to get a pretty cool view of the what's going on behind the scenes as well in the gorilla habitat and the gorilla yard. I think that's going to be a really, really cool sort of view, especially when the gorillas are up on their climbing frame and whatnot. And the gorillas do come through down onto these sections as well. So yeah, I think it'd be quite interesting and something that'd be quite cool to look at. So that's where the pygmy hippos are still going to go. I need to drop the land down to be able to achieve what I want to achieve. And then we're going to come over here, basically, ladies and gentlemen, is the area we're going to be talking about next. This is going to be sort of a very water heavy area. I mentioned a long time ago when I first started putting this project together that I wanted an area where it wasn't so much the animals were were placed based on where they're from, but more based on the habitat type, you know, semi-aquatic animals and this sort of stuff. And I really wanted to try to feed into that and do something a bit different. It kind of is actually going to be beginning with the flamingos, and then this area here is going to be the giant otters. That's where they're going to go. Now, my feeling with this is that there's going to be two ways that you're going to be able to access the rest of the water area. Now, the otters are actually going to have quite a big habitat, so we're going to carry this path on, and it's going to come around the back of it, and there's going to be an area here where you're going to be able to watch the otters sort of dive in the little pond that they're going to have. But there's also, off of that, there's going to be a bridge that cuts right over the middle of the habitat, and I want this so that you get really cool views of the two sides that are left on the habitat. And then that path that cuts across is going to obviously come over here, and it's just going to be another way of accessing the rest of the water area. Now, obviously, I want to do, like, one of the things we've advertised in the ticket office is like Otters Live, so I do need to be able to place an area there where the educators can come in and do a talk and whatnot. I need to be quite clever about the way I want to do it. I'm not really thought that through yet, but I know I definitely want to do this otter habitat with the bridge through the middle. We do all the fake rocks, really decorate it up nice, and I think it will look fantastic. We'll do like a nice sort of like river system going through it, and then it brings us to the rest of it, basically, ladies and gents. Now, what I am considering doing is, once you come across that bridge, you're going to be met with this sort of open sort of plaza. I don't really want to call it a plaza because it's not going to be, but just an open area basically, and there's going to be lots of little tributaries, I guess you could say, is how the path is going to work. Now, one of them is going to come off into this area over here. Now, this is going to be a massive piece of work. This is our backstage area, and this is why I want to put it here, because it feeds into it nicely. There is going to be sort of a gate here, and then there's going to be a gate here, and that's where our backstage is going to continue over this side, because we're going to need that to service that. But also, we are going to be able to carry the backstage for the animals that are going to go here down into this section over here. It's one of the reasons why I left the space there, and it's one of the reasons why we've got this good access road as well. So what I'm going to do in the corner over here is I'm going to do something called Polar Point. Now, what I'm thinking about doing is polar bears one side and the king penguins the other. Now, the king penguins, I'm actually thinking about just giving them an indoor habitat, and the reason for that is it's because of temperature control. Those penguins do require it to be a lot colder, and from the research that I've done, king penguin habitats tend to be indoor habitats rather than outdoors because of that temperature control that's needed. So the king penguins are going to be indoors, but we're also going to have a we're going to have an outdoor-indoor area for the polar bears. So there's going to be this cool thing where we're going to have the polar bear viewing section indoors as well, but then we're going to do this massive outdoor habitat. It's going to have a big splash pool. It's going to be an area where you can see the polar bears diving, and then there's going to be this big rock face sort of green area, mountain sort of area that they can go up and climb on and whatnot and walk up onto, and it's going to be great viewing areas, and we're going to do it all sort of in this corner back here. Obviously, it's going to take up a lot more room than I'm sort of anticipating, because I know the polar bears are going to require a lot of space, and we're one of those zoos that wants to give the animals a lot of room as well. So that's going to be sort of like the Polar Point there. And then there's going to be a little shop next to it. I think we have to think about a restaurant and whatnot in this area. So there'll be a little shop next to it and a little seating area and whatnot. Across from the Polar Point building, there is going to be another building. Now, this area, I'm going to throw it out there. There's going to be some outdoor stuff, but it's going to be very building heavy. And I think because of the nature of the creatures, the water and all the rest of it, it kind of has to be. But from across there, there's going to be another building, basically. And in this building, I might actually even have the otters, this section here, I might actually have some glass inside, so from inside this building you can see the otters from in there as well. I think it'd be quite cool to have that. But inside this building, I'm thinking of placing the terrapin, the gharial, the saltwater croc, potentially the caiman. I do want to do like an area where I could have the caiman elsewhere, but I might put the caiman in here as well, and it's basically going to be more sort of along the lines of those reptiles and things that you find in river systems. I thought it'd be quite cool for them to have a building of their own, and I thought it'd be like a great way of changing up some levels. I thought we could have an upstairs area as well where there could be like a seating area and people could look out onto the park. They could look out onto the flamingos and the otters, and then they could look over into Polar Point and just be like a cool place to sit, basically. Maybe enjoy a bit of lunch and then there'd be this, but downstairs would be predominantly where you'd be able to view the animals like the gharials and all that sort of stuff. Now, I'm going to keep the majority of these animals inside, again, for very similar reasons I made about the king penguin. It's all about temperature control, and that's why a lot of zoos in the UK tend to keep things like this indoors. It's a very strange climate, the UK. We get like 3 months of the year that's like summer, but literally of those 3 or 4 months, we probably get about 4 weeks of sunshine. Like it's a strange country. Even when it's not, it might not necessarily be like that sunny, it might not be that warm. It's difficult. It's a very hard one to control, and obviously we're doing a lot of reading, and they just combat this by throwing everything inside these temperature acclimated buildings. Some animals have the chance to go outside because they can deal with the temperatures, but others can't, unfortunately, and so that's why they do it, and that's what I'm thinking about doing now. And then as you would turn the corner from these two buildings and that area there, as you turn, we're going to do a massive seal habitat. And what I'm going to do with the seal habitat is so very, very difficult this for me to explain, but I'm going to combine the seal habitat with the aquarium. Now remember, this is called Tropical Wing Zoo and Aquarium. Now obviously we don't really have the ability to do proper aquarium animals on the game, but there are some mods for some fish, and I am considering, although they move a bit weird, I am considering using them just so that we can pack the aquarium out in a nice way. So what we're going to do is the grey seal are going to be over here, over this side. Their outdoor habitat. Then they're going to have a water tunnel that goes under the ground, like underground over here, and then they're going to have a big swimming area inside the aquarium. The reason for the outdoor area is because I'd like to have some glass areas that people can watch, but also you could go up onto like a jetty area and you can see them when they're sitting out on the rocks and stuff like that, or when we're potentially doing shows for people and things like that. I'm going to base it quite heavily off of what Colchester Zoo have done. It's pretty low key, Colchester Zoo's outdoor area, but they've got this fantastic tunnel that people walk through and you can see either side. I'm not going to do a tunnel because you have to go down very deep with your pathway, but I am going to do an underwater viewing area, and we'll just glass it off on one side and make it part of the aquarium. The aquarium as well, I'm going to do it so that it kind of bridges over, and the aquarium and the seals are going to feel like one habitat. I'm going to do that there, and then when we come past the aquarium, because I don't really want it to be part of this, when we come through the aquarium, I'm going to do a massive African penguin habitat, like massive. I'm going to go crazy with it. I'm going to do a massive big seating area for talks and shows, and I think London Zoos, their penguin habitat, it's fantastic. It really, really is, and I'm going to do that, and that's going to be on the far side basically of this water area, and that's basically what I'm thinking of doing at the moment. We've got the saltwater croc as well. I think that'll probably have to be worked into this building somehow. I'm not sure why I did the saltwater croc for this zoo, because they're very big animals and I've tried to keep it a bit more low key. But yeah, that's basically the two areas, and what I'd really appreciate from you guys is obviously I'm not taking inspiration for this zoo. I'm not taking any suggestions for this zoo. This is like my project. This is something that I just want to do the building myself on, but I do still want you to be involved. I still love it when you're involved, and I would just like to hear what you'd prefer to see first. Would you prefer to see the big African expansion done first and finished off, or would you prefer to see the sort of water and the semi-aquatic animals done first? I'd just be really interested to find out. I'm obviously in the midst of planning both sides, so to me it doesn't really matter what you would prefer, but I would rather be building things that you want to see at the moment, rather than just building habitats. At the end of the day, I started building that primate habitat when the Africa DLC came out, and it was me and Leaf kept joking about it, like, trust me, to start building primate habitats when we've got all these other fantastic animals that I could be messing around with. But yeah, that's just the way I am, unfortunately. If I'm inspired to do one thing, I will do it. But like I say, I'm planning both sides, but I just appreciate your feedback, really. You let me know which one you would like to see. And then on the subject of animals, now I put together, well, I didn't, my wife did. She put together the animal list for me for this series, and basically we only use the animals that are in the game, but I genuinely feel like some of the mods are very, very impressive now. Some of the animals are really impressive, and I've been saying all along that I wouldn't use the mods. I said I would try to steer clear of them just in case they broke the game or whatnot, but there's a few that I think are fantastic. There's a new tortoise that someone's done. It's a South American breed of tortoise that I would love to get in the zoo. It's a slightly smaller species. Someone's managed to edit the iguanas so that you can turn them into exhibit animals now, rather than just in the boxes. I think that's a fantastic thing, because could you imagine that if you did like a South American house and you could just have this area where there's a big branch and you could see the iguana sitting on that, and then you would have a big river system like through the middle and your caiman are in that, and then the possibilities are endless now. They really, really are. And so there's a few mods that I'm quite excited about. Now, what basically I'm saying is I am thinking about adding some of the modded animals. Now, I'm not too keen on anything aquatic. I'm not really keen on the fish. They don't move right for me. But anything else that you think might really, really work in this zoo, of the mods that you're aware of, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to give them a look. And then if I think they could work and I think they're good enough, then I will think about updating the animal list and placing some of those animals in the zoo. There are a few that I think I'm going to download anyway, and add them to the animal list, just because I think they'll make a difference. Basically, they'll make a difference to the project, so I am thinking about doing that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I hope this episode isn't wasted. I hope this is like a good episode for people. I hope that you've appreciated it. Like I say, one of the reasons I do these planning episodes is to let you know what's coming up, but also to give you a chance to get involved, and so that you guys can let me know what you think is best, basically, for business, what we should do next and all that sort of stuff. And that's why I do it, my friend. So there you have it, my friends. We're back in business with Tropical Wings Zoo. I would really appreciate, like I've already said, if you could just let me know what you would like to see next. Would you like to see the African expansion? Would you like to see the semi-aquatic water expansion? Let me know. I'm happy to build either or. I really, really am. Like I say, each of the habitats is being planned out at the moment. I'm having a mess about with certain things as well. You know me, I'm always trying to stretch the game to its limits, and I'm definitely going to be doing that with these habitats again. So yeah, just let me know what you would like to see, and I'll be more than happy to get round to it. I'll give it a couple of days for you guys to get your suggestions in, and then I'll get cracking with the next part of this lovely little series. Also, remember, like I said during the course of today's episode, I am going to be putting out a very similar episode where Jammy Conservation Park's concerned as well. So anyone that's still interested in seeing JCP, and me building that and me get to its finish, do let me know, and I'll be sure to be talking lots and lots about that over the next coming weeks. But my friends, I'm done and dusted. If you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Drop me a like on this video if you've enjoyed it. But until next time, when hopefully we are back building and we are back with some new animals, you've all been absolute legends. Thanks for joining me. You stay safe, stay humble, and I'll see you on the next one.